we're all set.
Okay. All right, everyone, good morning. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Thank you all for attending this morning on this beautiful first day. And recording secretary will now take roll.
Roll call, Board Member Anderson.
Present.
Board Member Futrell.
Present.
Board Member Renteria.
Present.
Board Member Rumble.
Present.
Board Member Myers.
Present.
Chair Rivera.
Present.
All right. Let the record reflect that all board members are present. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Yes, I have this public item 2, public comments. This is a time when any person may address matters not listed on the agenda, but which are within the subject matter of the jurisdiction. The public may comment on agenda items when the item is called. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes. Kaya, can you please review how the public may comment?
All right. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please raise your hand. If you are dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute once called upon. You have 3 minutes. Chair Rivera, there are no members of the public on Zoom nor in person.
All right, thank you, Kaya. Now we move on to item number 3, approval of minutes, and 3.1 are the minutes from the March 23rd meeting. And hang on a second.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
I lost that sheet.
Oh, I got it for. I got another one.
Okay. All right, approval of minutes. The minutes were prepared by the board secretary and are now available for review by the public. Does anyone have any questions about the minutes? If not, I will move to approve the minutes without a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. The minutes should show that I'm abstaining because I wasn't present at the meeting.
Okay. Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. And now we move on to the next item, which is the new business. Item 4.1, approval of the final draft 2022-2023 annual report and 2023-2024 work plan. So based on the definition in ordinance number 3946, the annual report means the annual report required by section 36533 of the ordinance that you have in front of you. By law, we're required to prepare the annual report each year. It doesn't specify exactly when we have to put it together, but basically the annual report details both activities and services that are carried out, and as well as programs throughout the year by the city of Santa Rosa and the contractor, which is in this case is Business Santa Rosa / Metro Chamber. A final draft of the report was incorporated onto this agenda. However, we have some significant suggested last minute changes and edits that we have made on the report that you now have in front of you. And we will just seek approval with the amended changes. All right, so before a motion is made, are there any members of the public wishing to comment on item 4.1?
So just a quick comment. I think that for VSR's budget in this, we can do 2 things that are not reflected here. One is to show reserves similar to what the city is doing. So Visit Santa Rosa carries a reserve that's not reflected in the budget table here. And the other is to put a footnote in here to explain some of the more meaningful differences between budgeted and actual, which are primarily driven by how we are budgeting rather than big swings in costs and investments, right? So we are capturing all of our personnel, just as an example, capturing all of our personnel costs within admin and operations. And prior year, including the 22 budget, personnel was scattered throughout the budget. So just what I felt to be a more transparent way of budgeting to capture the costs where they're a little bit more appropriate. So that would explain the big difference between budgeted and actual, for example, in admin and operations in that line item. So just to be clearer and more, I think, aligned with how the city is presenting its budget.
I have a question, Raphael. When we look at the work plan for City of Santa Rosa, the prior document had a $221,000 unallocated reserve and a $330,000 carry forward number over and above the $500,000 budgeted for the current fiscal year by the city. That number is now shown as a carry forward number of $312,000. What are the encumbered funds that the city had from the BID going into the current fiscal year prior to budgeting additional dollars?
Okay, I thought we had, incorporated, I think we didn't deduct anything, we just kept so this is a revised table based on some of the suggestions that were provided, but I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Raphael. What I'm a little unsure of is that the report before appeared to show that there were 500 and about $550,000 of, in essence, reserve funds over and above the expenditure plan. Whereas this is showing, if I understand correctly, 312,000 over and above the council approved budget. I'm sorry, I didn't bring the old report to look at.
I'm looking for the old report now.
The only carry forward was 330, it looks like.
Hang on a second.
Yeah, and there's an asterisk in the lower left, Todd, that talks about, if I recall, 211 or 221,000 of additional dollars. Yeah, right there. 221,347. Yeah.
Sorry.
That was page 19 of the former report.
So we have, the carry forward 330, 293, and the reserves 221, 347, right?
Right. So obviously those two numbers add up to about 550,000.
Correct.
Whereas this shows carry forward of 312. So I'm just curious where the 200 and X thousand dollars went.
Yeah, I didn't, should have maybe brought the budget, our budget person here. Because I thought we just had combined those two and then placed them on the council approved 500, carry forward 312. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Now, maybe the number is 312. It's just it's not consistent with what was in the other report. That's why I'm asking the question.
Well, why don't I seek clarification on that one, and can I get back to you as soon as I have a clear response as to what the difference is there, unless. Okay, you're right. Yeah, okay, I see the discrepancy.
Well, what I would suggest maybe for the consideration of the board is there are some changes that VSR is going to be doing anyway.
Yeah.
Perhaps that can be clarified along with anything else that comes out of today's discussion.
Correct.
Because I'm a little uncomfortable with that clarification just coming to me as opposed to coming to the, to the whole board. If it's an accurate number, then there's nothing further to say, but if it requires a revision to this page for clarity, then that would be a different story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and for comfort, we did meet with our finance analyst yesterday, and we went over this data and the numbers, and this is what she ended up sending back late last night. So I'm pretty confident that the numbers are accurate. Perhaps there may have been some minor revisions, but I'll definitely get clarification on that. And then as soon as the chamber changes come in, I'll confirm that update.
And I also noticed that the work, I'm a little bit confused. And actually, let me, I guess, ask you, Peter, talking about on page 20 of the work plan. Since one of the changes here is that the City of Santa Rosa work plan changes to a calendar year to coincide with the way revenue is received. And Visit Santa Rosa was already on a calendar year. Should not those 2 years coincide so that this would be a 2024 Visit Santa Rosa report, as well?
The only issue we have with that, of course, is we don't have an adopted budget until January of 2024.
Right.
So it's tough to put in a budget that's representative of being final, right? 6-7 months before it's done.
Wouldn't we want the BIA budget, though, first before the chamber budget, knowing that if the chamber budget is different, this budget can be accordingly revised? But I mean, in theory, the BID budget should be the master budget, although it may not have all the line items involved. Otherwise, the BID budget is being changed to reflect the chamber budget.
Well, it is the chamber's budget, right? I mean, the chamber has, because those funds are coming in to the chamber, the council doesn't approve Visit Santa Rosa's budget. Chamber board does.
Yeah, but it approves the work plan,
Right.
which includes a budget. So,
But we wouldn't have Q3, Q4.
well, I know when you're making a transition, between a fiscal year and calendar year, it would be, wise. I mean, there's going to be a transition. And there's already a transition on the city side, because the city side is obviously a 23-24 budget through June 30th, 24, whereas this is calendar year to the end of the year.
I mean, we could put something in there for sure, so long as it's presented in context or caveated, right? To say, this is anticipated 24 budget or something like that. I mean, we get in the same case, right? Because regardless of how it's presented in this document, the city's going to have, the city's always going to be on a
Fiscal year.
on a July to June fiscal year.
Yeah.
Even if it's presented differently in this document. So theoretically, there's only 6 months of 24 that's actually budgeted as well.
Correct.
The difficulty is that if we adopt a 2023 work plan for Visit Santa Rosa, and we understand that the chamber essentially makes those decisions on how to allocate its dollars. But if we adopt a 2023 work plan for Visit Santa Rosa and it goes to the chamber in end of August or September, the year of 2023 is almost over. So from that standpoint, it actually doesn't communicate anything except it's more of a historical statement. Here's what it was, as opposed to here's what it
I see your
is or should be. Yeah, and I don't have a big dog in that. I just think it's important to be consistent. If it's a 2024 plan, it should be a 2024 plan, and then the chamber's going to go through its process, and if there's variance, I mean, it just would revise the make a notation that these dollars are subject to the chamber budget process that comes up at the end of the year.
We could also switch the timing of the annual report when it's presented. So I guess we could be reporting on 2023 earlier in the year, following year, and present the budget for that year, 2024 budget, right? I did get an approval from finance to officially get rid of that 2022, 2023, blah, 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 and then just call it the 2023 annual report. And of course, if we have data from 2024, including the chambers, officially change it to the 2024 work plan.
Well, is it possible just to change under Visit Santa Rosa 2023 to 2024 and add the asterisk that allocation of dollars among line items is subject to the chamber budgeting process?
Yeah.
Yep, certainly fine with me. Going back quickly to page 6 and recognizing that this is a new table showing the administrative fee and then the split between the city and Visit Santa Rosa or the chamber.
Yes.
Yeah. So I appreciate that. I think it helps clarify what was already in, it was in text, right? But I think it helps clarify. Just a note though, I mean, 2 plus 30 plus 70 is 102. So in reality, right, I mean, the city receives more than 30%, it receives 32%, and the chamber, Visit Santa Rosa, receives less than 70%, it receives 68%, based on that 2% administrative fee. It's the 30-70 split is absolutely true.
Yes.
After the 2% is taken from the city, so.
98%. Yeah.
So, now, I also realize that the 30-70 numbers are in the ordinance. So I don't want to create, I don't want to create any inconsistencies with the ordinance, but in reality, it's 3268, not 3070. So however we want to walk that tightrope with being consistent with the ordinance, because the ordinance also calls out the administrative fee. I'm not suggesting anything improper, right? I'm just, if we present it like this, we should probably
Make that clarification.
Yeah.
Clear.
Yeah, probably add up to 100% rather than 102%.
And then on that same page, and thank you for calling that out, there's also those reformatted tables based on the suggestions we received on Monday, where you can plug in.
What I think I could do here, just to be clear, is because our reserves are not within our operating budget. We don't use reserves to fund ongoing activity. We use reserves, as you know, when a pandemic comes or a wildfire comes, to help cover precipitous decline in revenue to carry on costs. So on this table, I think it would be fine if we just footnote that we have a $500,000 reserve for Visit Santa Rosa's budget, and highlight a couple of the whys behind the differences between budget and actual. So no changes to the table is what I'm saying, but we can get you language that would be a footnote to the table.
Okay.
If that's agreeable to the board itself. On the, switching back to page 20, I think here is where we could probably try to more closely align with your table, so they don't look so completely different.
Okay.
So we'll send you, the numbers aren't going to change, right? The numbers are what they are, but we can send you information for both.
And for clarification, member food trial, we added some side notes such as staff 40%, 40 city, full-time employees, including salaries and benefits. Studio B is the professional services plus others. And then, like I said, I'll seek clarification on the discrepancy between those other figures from the previous report.
Great, that's, the numbers here are still a little puzzling on the city side. I don't mean to be, belabor it, but the revenue was 955 in the prior fiscal year. And the expenditures were 733, but only 421 was spent. That's a $534,000 difference. But there was, that's not accurate. I'm understanding it better now, I see. Okay. The actual revenues that came in were you're showing 500,000 for that period. You can't really track what was actually received here. We don't need to belabor it. It may be something that can be looked at more thoroughly. Numbers don't quite add up and link to the prior year and then the next year.
Is it because this is a calendar year? This is.
Yeah.
That's a possibility. I'd be happy to schedule a conversation with either Kate or our new finance analyst for the department and just go over those figures. We also quickly, before I forget, we did add 2 bullet points on what it says here, page 18. Looking ahead, work plan for 2024 and continue to create economic development and impact through media mentions, education, and sourcing and services, revenue producing opportunities for our business community. And then the last bullet point was continue participation in professional. Oh no, wait a minute. I think there were some additional suggestions that you had made that were related to ongoing and or one-time projects that will support the hospitality industry.
I think you're maybe look at the open circle bullets under strategic plan development and
yes,
implementation.
thank you.
City of Santa Rosa, the last 2 there.
Yeah, thank you. Evaluations on the county tourism business, evaluation of potential TBIA funding, special, thank you for that. Will positively affect hospitality demand. Leveraging other programs of funding. I think the report has always had room for improvement, so I do appreciate the feedback. And as we continue to better the report, this is very valuable feedback, and we can definitely make it more robust and more complete and more accurate as we move along.
Raphael, I do see the question I've got. If you look at page 6, I see where the 312 that is shown in the 2024 work plans come from.
Oh.
That's the council approved budget plus carry forward funds, less actuals for the year.
Oh, okay.
That equals 312, but it still leaves open the question of the 221, 347, which is shown as available reserves on page 6 from 22-23, where that money went.
Okay.
Because it's not reflected in the work plan.
Okay. I'll seek clarification on that. And then Peter will, to your comment, we'll go ahead and readjust that, the 2%, 30%, 70.
Yeah, however
Yeah.
you want to indicate that. I mean,
Yeah, it's confusing.
it's certainly true that after the 2% is taken, right, then the split is 30-70,
Yeah.
right? So I'm not arguing that point at all. Yeah, and I don't want to get us out of whack with the ordinance either, so. However we want to reflect that. You know, like I don't know.
Anyway, so going back to that one minor clarification, if we decide to call it the 2024 work plan, and then for that table near the end, again, the Visit Santa Rosa work plan calendar year 2023. So we're going to just put a side note where.
Well, that would say 24 now, not 23.
Okay, 2024.
To align with the city, right? So if the city is saying that this is a work plan for 24, right?
Yeah.
We would want to reflect the same. And I think there's a note on the table, footnote on the table, saying that, you know, this is an anticipated budget
Anticipated budget, okay.
that is subject to change based on the chamber's calendar year budgeting process or something like that. And truly, it's, I mean,
Yeah.
like, very unlikely.
Hey, I like this change.
In any kind of significant way, right? But,
Yeah.
I mean, just from my responsibility of meeting, you know, legal requirements for the chamber, right?
Yes.
I don't want to take away the fiduciary responsibility of the board.
Correct.
I don't want to complicate things, but did you say that we could actually push this work plan to the end of the year in future years? I'm just because for our planning purposes, that's how we plan, you know, so I don't,
Yeah,
that'd be, I don't know.
So potentially we would be pretty quick up then for doing another document in January or February of 24. So not pushing this one out. I think this one still needs to go to the council, right?
yes.
But
Oh, right, correct.
yeah, but we would need to do, we would need, instead of framing it as pushing this out, we would need to pull in next year's report and do
A little sooner.
a quicker timeframe.
Yeah.
I'm not quite following. If this
So
were,
we'd have to do another one in 6 months, basically.
well, I'm not following why.
Well-
If this were 2024, 2025 is,
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're
Long way
right.
around.
So next year's
Next-
wouldn't be quicker. It would be at the end of the year.
it doesn't have to be in August, it could be in like October, November, or even
Yeah.
December.
Yeah. You're right. Mhm.
I mean, that would be more in line with our planning, so
Yeah.
we'd be able to give better information.
Yeah.
That's just,
And that would also allow plenty of time and opportunity for us to work together to see how we can definitely, I mean, I definitely want to see something a little bit more professional. This is just me using Word and back and forth and little pictures here and there and then pulling the data, but you know, it
you know,
is.
some of my stuff got
It is,
skewed, I
the
noticed.
formatting is outdated, you know, EDV puts out a very nice report, so does Sonoma County Tourism. We should be, you know, money that comes in, we should be able to produce something professional.
And we can probably add some support for that.
Yeah.
All right. So does anyone want to make a motion in support of the approval of the annual report and work plan in recommendation to the city council with the amended changes that we have discussed here today?
I'll make a motion that we send this through with the amended changes that we discussed today.
Thank you, Member
close enough?
Anderson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion?
Would we need to call for another vote if that 221,000 reserves is something significantly different than what we're assuming it is? Or I'm just kind of
I should be
curious.
able to clarify the matter pretty easily, but I would suppose so.
Well, might I make a suggestion that if the 221 are dollars that aren't shown here. Just understand, and the minutes could reflect this, that the motion assumes that will be a minor edit on its way to the council. And if it actually is already subsumed in the 312, then you don't have to do anything.
Okay.
And you just leave it as it is.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Recording secretary will now take a roll call vote.
Yes. Roll call vote, Board Member Anderson,
Aye.
Board Member Futrell,
Aye.
Board Member Renteria,
Aye.
Board Member Rumble,
I,
Board Member Myers,
Aye.
Chair Rivera.
Aye.
All right, let the record reflect that that this item is approved with unanimous ayes. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Item 5, like I said, it's department reports. We do not have any department reports. Item 6 is to adjourn the meeting, so we're gonna go ahead and proceed and adjourn the meeting. I'd like to thank you all for attending today.
Thanks, Raphael.
Thank you.
thank you all.
Thank
Was there late correspondence, or is that just a placeholder under